In the world of PC hardware and gaming, we often find ourselves captivated by the appeal of high-end hardware, chasing the latest and greatest components to enhance our computing or gaming experience. But amidst the race for power and performance, we sometimes fail to recognize the untapped potential of lower-end hardware. I had the opportunity to take a look at a mini PC from Geekom, and I gotta say I'm quite impressed by what the super compact computer can do. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the AS6, a small mini PC that was sent over to me by Geekom. With the advancements in the computer hardware space where chips are becoming more powerful and efficient, it was only a matter of time where we'd start to see mini PCs become capable of handling everyday tasks, workstation apps, and even handle gaming, essentially providing the user with an experience that's almost similar to what you'd get out of a larger desktop rig. I've always been intrigued by these non-traditional small form factor PCs. In fact, one of my early uploads on the channel was me doing an unboxing of an Intel NUC in 2015, but back then, apart from using it for basic tasks, the tech just wasn't there yet. However, with the specs that the AS6 is sporting, I think you guys will be fairly pleased with it. Anyways, that's enough rambling, let's get into this review, and to start off, I just wanted to do a quick unboxing. The mini PC comes packaged inside the small cardboard box, although it had fairly limited info aside from the logo and model, you don't really get anything else. Opening up the box, you have the mini PC that comes wrapped in a foam sleeve for some protection. The other compartment inside the box has the power brick along with its cord. They also provide you with an HDMI cable, which is convenient. Additionally, you're also provided with a VESA mounting plate and screws if you want to mount the PC on the back of a monitor for a minimalistic setup, so that's excellent. Next, let's talk about the Geekom AS6's specification. For the CPU, we've got an AMD Ryzen 9 6900HX with 8 cores and 16 threads, base clock of 3.3 GHz and a boost of up to 4.9 GHz, and is utilizing the Zen 3 Plus architecture. The chip also has integrated graphics, sporting the Radeon 680M and RDNA 2 based GPU with 12 compute units and a boost clock of up to 2400 MHz. So for a small chip, it's packing a decent amount of cores, which you'll see helps in multi-threading, and the specs for the iGPU are also promising. My unit also came with 32 GB of DDR5 4800 memory, which is ample for the kinds of activities one will be using on a unit like this. Along with that, we've also got a 1TB NVMe drive, although I was disappointed with the choice for the drive here that was used. It's the Kingston NV1, which is a pretty bottom of the barrel drive. It's DRAM-less and doesn't really have any top tier read or write speeds, along with a low endurance rating. If I was to use this machine for a daily driver, I would definitely swap out the drive for something more competent. Opening up the mini PC gives us a better look at the internals. They did mention to me they collaborated with ASUS, as the motherboard did have ASUS's branding on it, and you can also see a bit of branding on the front of the box. What's also neat is that there is another M.2 slot available, so that actually works great because you can put in a much more capable drive for your OS, and that'll also double up for more storage. We can also see a Wi-Fi card which supports Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2. All of these specs packed into a box with a volume of 900 milliliters and weighs just under 1 kilo. Moving around to the rear of the PC, and we can see for a small form factor PC, it does have quite a lot of I/O. What we get are 2 HDMI 2.1 ports, 1 DisplayPort 1.4 port, and a 40 gigabit Type-C port, which will also act as a secondary display port. You've also got 3 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports, 1 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, and the power in port. On the front, we also get a bit more I/O, another Type-C port which can do display as well, 1 microphone audio jack, and 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports. As for aesthetics and design, there's not a whole lot to talk about, as essentially what we're dealing with here is just a square box. It's got a simple matte black finish to it, and the chassis is made out of plastic. In terms of dimensions, it's 120mm wide, 130mm long, and is 58mm thick. It's sleek and has a small footprint, which is exactly the kind of design one would be looking for from such a product as this one. So you'd easily be able to hide it behind a monitor or tuck it somewhere discreet on your desk. The sides do look pretty cool with the vents, but aside from that, there's not much else to talk about. Now, before we move on to testing and benchmarks, I wanted to briefly share with you guys that the AS6 does come preloaded with with Windows 11, and what I was really happy to see was that there was basically no bloatware. All that came pre-installed were some ASUS drivers plus management software and the AMD Adrenalin software. That's it. Everything else you see is basically what I had installed afterwards. Alright, so starting us off in our benchmark suite is Cinebench R23, where for our single core result we attained 1,569 points, and for our multi-core score we have 12,308 points. For a mobile chip, those are some very good results. Its multi-core score can even give some high-powered desktop chips a run for their money. Up next, and we have Geekbench 6, and in this test the AS6 scores 2,109 points for the single core test and 10,093 for the multi-core test, telling us that this machine is very capable of handling a wide variety of workstation tasks. Speaking of a wide variety of tasks, we have PC Mark 10, which makes the system go through a wide variety of scenarios, such as web browsing, video editing, word processing, and more. It evaluates how the system did in each test and gives you some final scores. Keep in mind the average score for this benchmark using their database is 5,271, and we attained an overall score of 6,508, so that's above average, which is good. In the Essentials category, the AS6 scored 9,901, in the productivity section, it scored 9,436, and finally in the digital content creation portion, it managed a score of 8,007. For a machine as small as this, I'm quite impressed with those scores. Up next, we have 3D Mark Time Spy, and in this benchmark, we got an overall score of 2,487, while the machine performed well in the CPU test, where it managed to attain a score of 8,882, which is respectable. The category that obviously weighs the most towards the final score is the GPU score, and here it scored just 2,207, which isn't anything atrocious, but it's also not great. But keep in mind, we are talking about integrated graphics here, and also it's a mobile low-power chip, so we'll see how that translates to gaming performance. The last test I wanted to share with you guys was a video transcoding test done in Handbrake. I took a 2-minute clip of some gameplay that was recorded at 1440p and used the AMD H.265 VCN preset with a CQ set to 15 with a constant 60 FPS frame rate, and it spat out a video file that was less than half the size, probably retained about 80% of its quality, and all of that was done in just 31 seconds, so that's really good. Moving on to our gaming benchmarks, the first game we have is Forza Horizon 5 at 1080p using the medium quality preset with effects like motion blur turned off. I did also have FSR2 turned on but used the quality preset. This allowed the AS6 to comfortably run the game and manage an average frame rate of 56 FPS and 47 for the 1% lows, so very playable, and the game visually still looked decent. Keep in mind that for the footages I'll be showing you guys as we go through the benchmarks, the FPS will be a bit lower than the actual results since recording does cause quite a bit of a performance hit. I am working on getting a proper capture card setup. The next game we have is Fortnite using the low quality preset at 1080p. And with those settings, the AS6 is able to provide us with decent performance once again, where we average 74 FPS and attain 43 FPS for the 1% lows. I wouldn't call it ideal if you want to play competitively, but if you are looking to just have some casual fun, it's acceptable. Counter-Strike 2 is on the horizon, and because of that, CSGO has risen in popularity once again, and for anyone wondering how it'll perform on a system like this, well, I'm happy to report that performance is great, 93 FPS average and 57 FPS for the 1% lows. Again, you're probably not going to want to try and reach global elite status with this setup, but if you're looking to just have some casual fun, performance is great for that. Doom Eternal is what I'd consider to be the gold standard when it comes to optimization, and it really shows. On a system like this with a mobile iGPU with medium settings at 1080p, we're able to attain an average FPS of 68 and 57 for the 1% lows. The game still looked really good, and it was very playable and fun. Up next, we've got Modern Warfare 2 2022 using the basic quality preset at 1080p, with FSR 2.2 using the balanced preset. The AS6 is able to offer us playable performance, not the best, and there was definitely some stutters here and there. Not sure if that was a game caching issue. I did check, all the pre-shaders were done, but it's not like I couldn't play. If someone wanted to hop on and play some team deathmatch, I couldn't see why they wouldn't be able to enjoy some games. Moving on, and we have Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm honestly surprised the game ran the way it did with this hardware, but that's not to say that performance was good. At 1080p using the low preset with FSR on balanced, we got 43 FPS average and 30 for the 1% lows. I feel like if you were to lock the FPS to 30, you'd probably perceive a smoother experience, but the frame times also weren't that consistent. Nonetheless, it's playable, which for this iGPU is saying a lot. Cyberpunk 2077 is next at 1080p using low settings with FSR2 balanced. Unfortunately, the game just isn't playable. There was quite a lot of stuttering, and with an average FPS of 32 and 1% lows at 21, you're not going to be having a great time. So on the Radeon 680M, it just isn't powerful enough unless you're willing to compromise and play at 720p low settings, but even then the performance didn't improve drastically and the game still looks atrocious. The last game we're going to take a look at is Spider-Man Remastered at 1080p low settings with FSR2 balanced, and performance is actually pretty decent. It's one of those scenarios where if you were to lock the FPS to 30, you'd have a better time because performance would be more consistent, but it's playable and definitely in a better state than Cyberpunk was. Shifting away from the benchmarks, I wanted to take a look at thermal results after a 1-hour session of playing Cyberpunk. This game was only used because it does tax the GPU and CPU pretty hard. And from the session, we can see that thermals aren't too bad. Both the CPU and the GPU would have similar temps as it's all integrated onto one chip. You have to remember we are dealing with a small chassis here with just one small fan. It's not like there's a whole lot of airflow for the components. With that said, while thermals weren't bad, the fan was quite loud. At its peak, it was even louder than my main rig because it's just one small fan running at a very high RPM. You can adjust it in the BIOS, but then you'd be dealing with higher temps and perhaps even thermal throttling. If they had made it just a bit taller or a bit wider to accommodate another fan or perhaps more heat pipes, it definitely would have been beneficial. Alright guys, so that's going to cover pretty much everything I wanted to talk about when it came to the AS6 Mini PC from Geekom. I gotta say, I'm fairly impressed by how far Mini PCs have come and what the AS6 is capable of, and for a low power chip and integrated graphics, it's great that we're at this point where they're able to play modern AAA titles. If you're after a small form factor PC, one that can handle a wide variety of tasks, video editing, and also some gaming, then I would recommend checking out the AS6 as a viable option. I also really liked just how much I/O there is on this small system. For me personally, it's not going to replace my personal editing rig or my OLED gaming PC, but perhaps I may have some other use cases for it, such as a retro system, or use it as a Plex server, so we'll see. If you're interested in picking one up, you can head on over to their website, and they currently have it listed for $749. Remember, what you're paying for here is that small form factor package. They do have some promo codes ongoing as well, so you can probably get a nice little discount. I'll have all of that info in the video description. Well, that will do it for this one. We'll touch base in the next video. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.